So, hey, g'day. My name's Phill Small. I'm right now, my career is that as a full-time professional fine art photographer. I, um, I do my best, and I guess we might share some of my work on my Facebook or website, but what I try and do is create beautiful images, mostly from where I live in Eden, New South Wales, Australia. Of course, I do travel a lot though, and wherever I travel, I'm always trying to create new art with a view to not only bring places where I live in my country in Australia to the world, but to try and share something very special, um, to try and almost give hope, light, and love through my photography. We create art, and I say we because my wife is always with me and very supportive. I create art with a view to bring joy. Yeah, so it's funny. Deidre and I met a couple of hours ago, just chatting. I was working in the office here at the caravan park where I live about 60% of the time. I live here, and he shared very openly with an incredible heart um, that he lost his son to suicide. And 15 minutes later, we just started talking again. And I've lost people in my life. My mum and dad have passed away, and friends I've lost. But one as a parent, and I'm a father of three boys, and a stepfather of three beautiful girls, and I'm a grandpa. One could never begin to know that sense of loss and anguish. So I felt free to share with them that I deal with, at times, quite chronic clinical depression. And in hindsight, I've been living with depression probably for about 30 years, but originally unbeknownst to me. Prior to turning professional as a photographer, I lived in the IT world, selling both different software and hardware solutions to the Australian federal government, based in Canberra, and enjoyed at times tremendous success, if success is measured by money. From a young man that was a chef originally, qualified chef, a 4-year apprenticeship, learning to cook, then to get into an IT career and selling at times very high levels of government and very high levels of solutions that we sold, IT solutions, and getting paid a tremendous amount of money for that success. For a man that doesn't have a business degree or formal qualifications, I was very successful, earned a lot of money. I had a beautiful house, um, great lifestyle, swimming pool, almost the great Aussie dream, if you wish. But yeah, there was a dark side, and unbeknownst to me, until 2015, when I was on the verge of losing my job, and it was a great job. I enjoyed the job mostly. The owners, the masters of the company, a US corporate, went through a series of dramatic cutbacks, and I was one of the people to get fired, retrenched, shot, mercilessly just removed from office, shall we say. And it was right about then that I just stopped. I couldn't go any further, and I went and saw my GP, made the phone call like this, shaking, and got to the doctor that day because I cried on the phone to reception. The lady that answers, or the person that answers the phone, can I help you? And I just started crying. I said, I need to see your doctor today. And so that's what happened. Just this sheer pain, this sheer extraordinary sense of loss, fear, the anxiety came out for the first time in probably 30 years. Probably this fighting for so long in a big man's world, so-called. You know, the big corporate, everyone around me's driving BMWs and this. I didn't really care for that, but it was a big man's world. Big egos, big money, big dollars. And I'm really always just been a simple guy. And I earned big dollars, yeah, a lot of money. But I always just drove a ute and just a good simple car. But everything was big, you know, big power, big this, big that, big sales, big parties. And I think it just stopped. I just couldn't do it. And so fortunately I got to a doctor that day. Fortunately I had the sense something wasn't right. And I went to the doctor that afternoon, and he sat back and he said, okay, first thing, we're giving you a month off. He said, oh, what's wrong? You know, I'm feeling fine, I'm fit, and I'm okay. And I just sat in his office and cried, and really cried. And he said, okay, what's happening? And it's taken from 2015 to now to work through with my doctor what's happening. But let me share, it's a clinical diagnosis that we've undergone with very intensive, shall we say, an analytical program, if you wish, an online program that your GP gives you access to for an organisation in Australia called the Black Dog Institute. And they're remarkable. They have thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of research on depression, all the different forms that it takes. And I think universally we all call it the black dog. And so the Black Dog Institute has this program that you log on, and you can spend up to 2 hours answering a whole bunch of questions, which helps analyse with your GP and clinical psychologists perhaps that work with you on your mental health care plan. In learning to just accept it, it is what it is. I've learnt to know the signs, the triggers, what sometimes brings on a bad episode of this quite chronic depression. This, I remembered the full diagnosis, melancholy bipolar. And the doctor explained to me the melancholy is this absolute abject exhaustion, this inability to sometimes even mail a letter is an enormous effort sometimes, and you're trying to write a postcode or an address and that sheer effort is so exhausting and debilitating you just can't do it. So when that happens, you just go, okay, I'll curl up in bed, safe, have a sleep. It's a horrible feeling when it goes on. I've had periods where it's gone on for 4, 5 and 6 weeks. But in managing it better and accepting it better, I'm now having periods where it only lasts for 3 days. I'm accepting with my GP and counselling that it's probably not going to go away. There's a chemical imbalance there for some reason. That part I don't know. What I do know, and I heard another young man on Dita's page talking, delightful chap from Italy, yeah? Motorbiking around the world, I think. The thing he said that he has done is brought him the greatest good, and I'll say this to anybody dealing with depression: talk. Particularly to a professional, qualified, certified counsellor, clinical psychologist, if you need it, a psychiatrist, doesn't matter, no shame. Talk, and find 1 or 2 friends you can talk with. When we talk, it is like lifting a little bit of that black cloud off, and it's like gaining a little bit of hope. And you just think, as in nature, the clouds do eventually break. There is light, there is beautiful golden sunshine, there is beautiful dawns, and there is beautiful times of dusk. So I think that's another message I'm kind of sharing in this kind of thread, that we must talk, men. We must connect and talk, and we need awareness. Australia's doing a good job with Black Dog Institute and Beyond Blue. but we've got to be happy and free to talk about it quite publicly. Because we need corporations, we need corporates to accept their staff are going to sometimes get depression. Some of their staff will be suffering. And God damn you people in big corporate and CEOs and CIOs, let's start to have some respect. Let's start to have mental health care days. Let's start to understand some of our staff are burning out and hurting. Let's raise corporate America. Let's raise corporate Australia. Let's raise awareness in corporate Europe. These are the things that we're not doing well. And let's not just give it speak. Let's really act. Let's protect our staff. Many companies wax lyrical. Our staff are our #1 people. Let's start to bloody prove it and show it. Because I've been with some companies that live that and give you hope. And I've lived with companies that'll shoot you as quick as they'll say, how you going? Brutal and ruthless. And it is corporate greed. And it is just that want of the bottom line, and it is shareholder value, and all of that crap, and that stuff that means nothing. Let's start to look after each other.